What's going on, everybody? Figured I'd jump on here real quick and do a little rant. So, as we all know, in Jersey, and maybe for the people who don't live here, I'll give you some info. It's almost impossible to get a carry permit in New Jersey. 99.993% chance that you will be denied. That said, our last governor, who just ended his second term, tried to loosen the restrictions by adding the word serious threat to the illegal administrative code to start with. So before that, you needed to have a urgent necessity to carry a gun, based on previous attacks or a specific threat against your life that is more than just a generalized fear for your safety. So he added a serious threat to that. So now you could use a serious threat or specific threat or a previous attack that would demonstrate an urgent necessity to defend yourself. So that's been kind of in play for not even a full year. And according to this New Jersey State Police, nobody has even tried to get a permit through their department on that basis of serious threat. That's what they told me when I inquired. However, me and someone else, Mark, we applied together at the same time, went to court at the same time, using the serious threat. Now, my case in particular was not just a serious threat, but I proved a previous attack and a specific threat. Not only that, I proved underneath the new guidelines that someone with a protective order or restraining order, that, according to the code, would be deemed to have shown justifiable need. So since you need to show a justifiable need, if you can support that with a protective order or a restraining order, then you should be have deemed to demonstrate justifiable need, and still got denied. So I showed the restraining order part, I showed a previous attack, I showed a serious threat and a specific threat, and I was still denied. So what's the purpose of having the code when someone who actually meets more than what's required? Because it doesn't say you need and, it's or. So you need this or this. Well, I covered all the bases and still was denied. So that means it's bogus. That means it's extremely flawed, because it still leaves discretion or decision making on someone's political belief or what they believe in. That if they have a preset idea that no one should carry, then you're not going to get approved, no matter what your threat is. So, as you know, if you watch my videos, me and the other guy, Mark, with the help of Jay, I'm not going to say his last name, but we applied to the appellate division to have our case appealed and heard, to throw out justifiable needs, not the statute as a whole, but how they determine it. But needless to say, that's separate than what this is about. Yesterday, our new governor, who I call POS Phil, and his Attorney General, whatever the fuck his name is, was on a press conference that they held in Trenton at a YMCA, and they started off the press conference by letting a woman from Moms Demand Action to speak. Now, in her speech, she talked about losing her son as he was shot and killed on the front porch of his grandmom's house in Trenton. She described that he was shot by a drive-by. They basically drove down the street, shot up the block, and he was hit with a bullet and killed. I feel horrible. I can't imagine losing a kid. I have 4. I think that's devastating for a parent, regardless if it was a gun, cancer, knife, bat, accident, suicide. It doesn't matter. Losing anybody is hard. So I feel for her. But then Phil Murphy gets up there with his Attorney General and talks about that's the reason why we need to take these guns off the street and prevent law-abiding citizens from getting carry permits. So that's ridiculous. They need this. My blood was boiling yesterday. Have them sit up there and talk about a criminal act, most likely done by someone who had a criminal history, who wasn't allowed to have a gun in the first place, using a drive-by shooting that took a life of somebody as a reason why law-abiding citizens should not get carry permits, and that they vowed to do every legal option they can to remove the serious threat verbiage from the administrative code that Governor Christie added last year. Now, so you're making it even harder for someone to get a carry permit than it already is. I just proved that even with the serious threat, I was still denied. You have less than 0.25%, less than 0.25% chance of getting removed, and he wants to make it harder. Does that make any fucking sense to you? Makes none. This mother up there who lost her kid to a drive-by would have that serious threat that herself could fear because of her son being shot and killed, that maybe she might feel that it's necessary for her to have a firearm to protect herself just in case that happens to her. But because of him doing what he's trying to do on making it even harder to get, she would not qualify. So you're telling me who else would you say was in need of carrying? Anybody who feels that they need to protect themselves or their kids or their family, if there's any sort of that, if they can pass a background check, because we don't want criminals to get them, right? And you can pass a mental check. We don't want crazy people carrying guns, right? If you can do that, maybe with some training, it might not be a bad idea to have some training so you know what you're doing. But if you do all that, there's no reason why you should be denied a constitutional right that was a pre-existing right. It's a God-given right to protect yourself. Regardless of what you use, it's still a God-given right to protect yourself. So if you want to use your fist, go ahead, but you got to be able to counteract anything that the bad person is going to have. So if they're going to carry a gun, which they're going to do illegally, regardless of what the law says, maybe you should carry one too. So, for the life of me, man, I just can't fathom the whole point of restricting law-abiding citizens. You can add any gun law you want. POS Phil, I'm talking to you. You can add any law you want to the books. You can even ban guns completely and take them away from every law-abiding citizen. The bad guy, the criminal, is still going to get one. It doesn't matter. So, you can sit up there and pump your chest out that you're saving people's lives and blah, 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 but you're actually hurting people. People that would otherwise been able to protect themselves would no longer have that ability to do so. Even worse than it already is right now. And then when they die, or their family members die, but they would have had a chance to protect themselves, their blood is on your hands. You're already disobeying the oath that you just took 11 days ago or whatever. Just to let you know, Phil, you're a piece of shit. Your attorney general is a piece of shit. And then you're going to sit up there and have Sweeney up there talking about no one should have guns, while this asshole has a carry permit and has security guards protecting his ass and his family. Meanwhile, the rest of us can't. Doesn't make any sense. They pass a bill to exempt them from needing to show justifiable need, but not the rest of us. I think that's a 14th Amendment issue, don't you? So, Attorney General, Phil, Steve Sweeney, Loretta Weinberg, and all you other anti-gun people out there, just know that we're fighting back. It might be through the courts, but we're fighting back. We're not going to sit down and sit back anymore. It's done. Okay? And eventually, your time will end, and New Jersey will get our rights back. Until next time, peace.